staying healthy, staying sexy, staying young is what living life is all about. And if you have doctors that have proven treatments that keep people young and healthy so they don't get sick, you want people to know about these treatments and that they exist.
Coming up on this edition of Health Hacks, we have weight loss and gut health expert Dr. Debbie Bright. This episode is brought to you by GainsWave. GainsWave is a treatment done at your doctor's office to optimize erection quality without the need of Viagra, Cialis. It's non-surgical, there's no needles, and it has an amazing success rate. To find a GainsWave provider, go to gainswave.com. That's GAINSWAVE.com. Hello, this is Mark L. White with Health Hacks, and I'm so excited to have my friend Dr. Debbie Bright with me. I actually believe I met you out in San Diego or at, was it Mindshare?
That's exactly what it was. That's a good place for us to hang out, right?
It was a lot of fun. I mean, coming from Miami to San Diego, I'm sure the weather's really nice out there.
It still is. You know, I just came back from a trip in the Midwest. I'm originally from Missouri. I went to Kansas City. It's starting to get a little cold. It's already snowing there. I'm like so thankful I live here now.
Well, that's awesome. Now, tell me a little bit about yourself. I did a little bit of research, and it seems like you're making a lot of waves out in the food world. But did you come from nutrition? Tell me about that.
You know, originally no, but even as a little bitty kid, I've always had, you know, I hate to say obsession with like weight because it makes it sound like maybe I was obsessed with my own, but I would always look at what other people were doing. Why does this person eat a donut and not gain weight? Why is this person exercising all the time? And I was always kind of drawn to that. And I've always been drawn to the human body. Obviously, I have a background. My undergrad degree is in exercise science. And I went to chiropractic school. And from there, I kind of catapulted into functional medicine and specializing in weight loss. And once I got to San Diego and I was kind of living in the sports rehab world, I was like, you know, I'm just really into this nutrition thing. So I went ahead and pursued a master's in nutrition and human performance. And that's just kind of gotten me where I am today with helping people with weight loss. And then on the other side of weight loss, they make a lot of health discoveries that go along with shedding some of those unwanted pounds. It's been pretty rewarding.
Growing up, were you always into like keeping healthy, or was there an aha moment in your life?
That's a good question. You know, I grew up luckily with a family. They always cooked home cooked meals. If we had fast food, it was very rare. You know, and we had candy here and there. I wouldn't say that we were like overly health focused, but for whatever reason, my brother and I, we've both just been really into like the health and fitness world. Like, he was an all natural bodybuilder. He health coaches with me now. And so people just always kind of think we had this familial background that, you know, put us on this path. But for some reason, you know, we've just always had this random interest in healthcare and just pursuing that education has just deepened it.
It seems like every generation we get new facts or new paradigms on how we look at diet and what keeps us healthy. I'm a Generation Xer. I assume you're a millennial.
Yeah, I am. One of the older ones.
One of the older ones. I'm right in the middle of Generation X. And when I was growing up, it was fat that we had to stay away from. And they used to feed us a lot of processed carbs. We know how that turned out. We
absolutely do. And unfortunately, we're still fighting against that mindset today. But, you know, we know a lot of books have come out like Mark Hyman's Eat Fat, Get Thin, and people are starting to shift, I believe. But, you know, we've got to still battle against some old beliefs and people are very afraid of fat still to this day.
Why do you think people are afraid of that?
Just, you know, the science behind it, the old worn out science, getting like email things coming across, the old worn out science of it, you know, people are still just so afraid of animal fat. I just had a patient come to me. She got some labs ran. She's like, oh, my general practitioner, my MD wants to talk to me about cholesterol. And I just think I need to quit eating animal fat. And I'm like, no, really, it's kind of these processed carbs you've been eating and not the animal fat you need to demonize here.
Well, that seems like the biggest debate going on right now. And there's people on both sides of things where you stay away from all types of meat and you're going completely vegan. They say they have amazing energy and focus. And there are other people that say, no, that's not true. You just have to go more paleo or keto. Where do you lie on that?
Gosh, that's a really good question. Sometimes I want to make the vegans wrong because I feel like they're misguided. Now I would say I lay more in the pegan, right? Paleo vegan viewpoint, science, title, I guess. What I know now is that we're all very individually different, and what works for one person might not work as well for someone else. Now, where I think the vegans get it right is that they have a lot of plants in their diet, and I think that's very beneficial. But I think demonizing meat, and no, absolutely under no circumstances am I saying go out and eat this, conventional meat. It's loaded with antibiotics, hormones. The animals are mistreated and abused. There's stress hormones in their body. This meat's really not good for us. But the animals that are eating, grass-fed beef, if it's wild-caught fish, if it's free-range, eating grubs and bugs, chicken and eggs, then these meats are very beneficial for us. And too often, I've seen people come to me that go completely vegan, and they end up having skin issues, muscle wasting. They're more skinny fat. They've got fertility issues. So I just think we're missing the boat here. And I still think that people are coming out with these documentaries and whatnot, and they're painting this very scary picture that we should stay away from animal products. And I just don't believe that to be true. And I personally don't do that with myself. And I try to steer my patients and my online weight loss clients away from that and encourage them to have, healthy meats in their diet.
So you were actually a practicing chiropractor?
I used to hang out in the sports rehab world, and, I treated a lot of professional athletes, Navy SEALs. A lot of our military, is based here in San Diego. They would all come to me. I've stepped out. I drew a line in the sand about 2 years ago. I had this patient come to me, and we were doing shoulder rehab, and I got him all the way 90% better, but that last 10% we were really struggling with. And he happened to come in one day in shorts. It was nice outside, whatnot. I'm working on him, and he's covered in psoriasis. Uh-huh. And, I said to him, like, I could have just not addressed this, but I think he respected me because I did. I said, hey, there's something going on with your gut. How's that psoriasis going for you? And he said, I go to the doctor and they give me steroids and whatnot, but it's kind of either staying the same or getting worse. And I'm like, that's a gut dietary issue. I think you've got some food sensitivities and leaky gut going on. And when we addressed that, he started dropping weight. His energy increased, his sleep got better, his shoulder healed. So, a lot of times food sensitivities and these leaky gut issues show up in ways that patients can't connect the dots to, simply because they eat food and then they've got this delayed immune response that can take up to 72 hours or more to show up. And they're getting the joint pain, and they're getting the headaches, the fatigue, right? The sleepless nights and whatnot. It was just a huge win for me to make the dietary changes with this patient and then have him get so much better. And that was when I was like, you know what? I'm onto something that's just more than sports rehab, neuromusculoskeletal, and we can make a lot of pain changes with patients just by addressing their diet.
What type of testing do you do? Is it a blood test, or what kind of testing is out there for people looking to address this?
So there are labs that people can do. I work with companies like Cyrex Laboratories and Vibrant America. And these are for the people that, initially I put them through the gold standard still in the industry is an elimination diet. We put patients through the elimination diet for 21 days. We add in, more plant-based foods. We take out the more, I call them the top 7 heavy hitters. So gluten, soy, dairy, eggs, corn, peanuts. added sugars and artificial sweeteners. And we try to calm down the inflammatory state of their body and help them heal. And when we get past the 21 days, we'll do a reintroduction phase. And at the end of that, we say, okay, are you an outlier? Most people have dramatic improvements when we go this route. But, if they still need more, we start looking at food sensitivity testing with those companies I just mentioned. I do a GI map, which is a stool lab, because I want to see what's going on the inside. We test for leaky gut just to see if that's always a factor when people are having, food sensitivity and these, issues. And then we put them through a repair protocol with using supplements and whatnot to help them heal the leaky gut. So overall, I like to see a food sensitivity test paired with a stool lab as their starting point. And then if we need to move beyond that, we start, I'll refer out and we'll look at hormone panels and assess them from that route to see if we can make them get better.
Is there anything that somebody should be doing to focus on weight loss, or what are some of your recommendations there? Somebody wants to do it quickly.
Yeah. So I got to move them away from the mindset that it's all about, eat less, move more. There is some win in that. However, we've got to stop looking at all calories as if they're equal. It's about, the quality of the calories, not necessarily the quantity. I always break it down to patients like body composition's 90% diet and 10% exercise. Well, I'm never saying that 10% exercise isn't 100% all on its own. However, that's not our core focus. Abs are made in the kitchen. So if we can start changing some of their... I
like that. Abs are made in the kitchen.
Yeah. If we can change their diet up, we can get wins really quickly. So I like to take them off of, those top 7 heavy hitters that I mentioned before, the gluten, soy, dairy, eggs, corn, peanuts, added sugar, and artificial sweeteners, and start getting them to eat and focus. We don't necessarily focus completely on intermittent fasting. However, I do get them to eat to win, eat to hit their winning hormones. So there's always protein. There's always fiber from plants and vegetables and slow digesting carbs and healthy fats. And when they eat that combination of foods with every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, if they're working longer hours, like they're a nurse or something, they've got a long day, or they're an athlete, maybe we put in a snack, but it still always comes back to protein, fat, and fiber. And then it stabilizes their blood sugar. Their insulin becomes more stable. They're able to lose fat throughout the day, and they stay satisfied for 4 to 6 hours in between their meals. And then when that starts, over a 21-day period, people really start shedding weight. I always say 7 to 21 pounds within 21 days or less. I will say our average is around 9. If you're bigger, you have more weight to lose. You lose more weight. If you've got a little bit less, you start seeing some changes in different areas of your body, like your muscles look a little more toned. You're getting some of that body fat and bloat and inflammation off, and you start to see the difference.
Oh, and you work with people online, or do they have to come in and see you?
I am completely virtual. And we always, yeah. So it's limitless. It's boundaryless, right? You can live here. You can live in other countries. And I always start people with my online program, my food sensitivity Slimdown program.
How do you adjust it? I mean, some people might have adverse food reactions. Some people might be looking to achieve higher energy. Some people might be looking to actually increase muscle mass. How do you customize that?
So when it comes to the food sensitivity Slimdown, most people come to me initially because they want weight loss. And what they get out of it on the other side, we say we heal face, fat, and fatigue. So face, skin, acne, right? Fat, they want the fat loss, and then fatigue. When we start dealing with people's adverse food reactions and addressing them, so whether it be a food allergy, food intolerance, or the food sensitivities, and each one is an umbrella with different symptoms and whatnot under their own. If they're coming in because they want weight loss, that's a pretty easy one to get. Like I said, we just give them, more whole food based diet. we dial in those winning hormones, they shed. I don't work as often with people who want to gain weight, but I can tell you that they come through to me because they feel like they're relating to some of the symptoms. I had one patient, he was an athlete. He ended up being, he had celiac disease. And the reason that we found this out is because he always felt like crap, had stomach aches, but he couldn't put on weight to play football. When we started healing the leaky gut, guess what? He was able to start putting on that extra muscle mass. And putting on the muscle mass, comes down to, at the end of the day, you don't want to be on inflammatory foods, right? So we've got to get those out of the diet. And then people can start honing in on, do we want to eat to gain muscle mass? Do we want to eat to lose, shed the body fat? But I do primarily work with weight loss more than I work with people that want to put on, muscle mass.
Can a lot of people expect better energy levels when they're on your diet?
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, it's just such a huge payoff for people's energy levels and overcoming fatigue when they start eating a nutrient-dense diet and when they remove the inflammatory foods, because their immune system is always aggravated. They're usually a matter of, I always say, survive the first 4 days. When we start pulling these foods out, they start sleeping deeper. They don't need caffeine anymore. That's a big part of my program. We also take them off caffeine so that they can see that they act like there's a huge win when their body's able to create its own energy, right? We're not always tapping into the adrenals or overtaxing the system. It's unbelievable the energy payoffs people get when they start cleaning up their diet.
When you talk about like staying away from inflammatory foods, are there anything that definitely somebody should be cutting out right now? I know you named the 7, but is there one thing that causes more inflammation than anything else?
Across the board with the elimination diet, and with me speaking to other colleagues that do similar work as me, I've gotten on the phone with the lab companies, and it is like across the board, what are the top 3? And it always comes back that it's gluten, dairy, and eggs. And people are just eggs. People are blown away by eggs. It's like you just told them like Santa Claus doesn't exist for the first time, right? It's like eggs, no. When we clean up some of the leaky gut issues, people are able to reintroduce the foods and see if they're a problem for them anymore. And it really boils down to just that those foods they make up our entire diet, right? And so that's why people are reacting to these foods, because their gut lining's broken down. And so what keeps coming through the system is what the immune system reacts to. But yeah, if they went off of gluten and dairy, hands down, they'll start to see improvements. I would say if you're still having some issues, I would move to eggs third.
When people start this diet, when do they say to you, hey, I really am getting the energy payoff. I'm really starting to see something?
Oh, yeah. So in the first 4 days, they usually don't like me because they're dealing with food cravings. A lot of times they're coming off a caffeine addiction, a sugar addiction. There's I call it the trifecta threat of processed foods. They're dealing with, gluten has glutamorphin. Dairy, especially cheese, has casomorphine. And then you add in sugar, which is like 8 times more addicted to the brain than cocaine. And now you combine these foods and you have a real world food addiction. It's a real thing because of the opioid effect from the morphines on the brain. So yeah, in the first 4 days, they don't typically like me. I tell them like, we've got to survive the detox flu. That's the layman term in the doctor world. We call it the Herxheimer reaction. But by day 4, they really start having breakthroughs and they're shedding weight. Usually, it can be up to 7 pounds or so in the first week. So they might not be feeling the greatest, but they are seeing the scale move. And I've noticed that if you tell people ahead of time to weather the storm, they know what to expect. And they're like, okay, this is just temporary. I can move past this.
So how do you keep people accountable? Because everything you says sounds awesome until somebody walks away and then somebody gives them a donut at work.
Oh, you just hit upon something I preach day in and day out on social media, in my program, with my groups. I brought in a functional medicine certified health coach in under my umbrella with Millennial Health. My health coach happens to be my younger brother. So, I make sure he's on top of his game with my patients. But it's just so important to have accountability, to be able to check in. I always talk about culture. I always talk about what's accepted, that you are the top 5 people you spend the most time with. And these people in the cultural settings are definitely influential on people's choices. So it's really important to be able to say to the coworker with the donut, or to, if it's a female in my program and she says, oh, I'm doing this, but my husband and kids aren't on board. It's really, really important for her to have an accountability partner, a community, whether that be an online, we have an online private Facebook group, the coach that they can check in with. Sometimes, you gotta know who you're working with. Some people want to be spoken to differently. They want to be motivated. Some people want tough love. And it's important to figure out, how am I going to speak to you and relate with you so that you feel supported, so that you hold yourself accountable. And hands down, what I see a lot is if people can just commit with their time, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but money, when people put money on the line and they pay for coaching and they pay to make a difference, they hold themselves personally more accountable. But it's a lonely world out there, and unfortunately, if Julie is going to go and lose 50 pounds, we want to think that people are going to be happy and excited for Julie. But we live in a world where people fear another person making changes, and it's reflection back on, what those people can see for themselves or not see for themselves. And so accountability is just huge.
If you want to upgrade your life, upgrade your standards, and you'll get there for sure.
100%. I agree completely.
So other things like probiotics, I actually started taking probiotics myself, and it seems to make a difference. Are you a big believer in probiotics, enzymes, other supplements?
Absolutely. So I have this, I call it the 5R framework for rapid weight loss. And you just touched upon 2 of the 5. Essentially, I live in the space of remove the bad, which is the inflammatory foods in the diet. Replace what's good, right? A lot of times as we age, we, with stress, medications, whatnot, we down-regulate our digestive enzymes. So I'm all for replacing those and helping with our digestion. It's super important. The third step to my 5R framework is to re-inoculate, and that's where the probiotics come into place. We're so marketed to, it's really, really important for the probiotics to have a biotrack technology in them that helps them survive the stomach acid. It's really important for them to make it all the way through your digestive tract into your colon, which is where they flourish anyway. So, moving away from cheap probiotics, just simple on the shelf things that don't have, a very high count. Our gut is made up of trillions of bacteria. So taking a little 5 billion here and there may not get the job done. And, we live in a world where we've been overprescribed antibiotics and medications that affects our gut bacteria, our microbiome. It just wasn't very many years ago. In the last decade, we weren't, the microbiome, we just weren't paying attention to it. And now you just hear about it everywhere. It's so important. We have more microbiome bacteria that make up our being than we even do cells in our body. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of probiotics. And then, the other 2 steps in the 5R framework is repair. So putting in supplements to help repair that leaky gut lining, and then simply rebalance, which is addressing lifestyle stress and habits. And that's where we move, you address those, you move into rapid weight loss.
So if somebody wants to get started with you, what do they get? Like every day they have to journal the foods they eat? Are they getting stuff? What are they getting from you? How does that work?
When they go into my food sensitivity Slimdown program, they get videos to educate them. They get meal plans. So we make, one thing I've really learned is if you tell people what not to eat, they freak out because it's like, all those ingredients I just told them, they're like, well, there's nothing left to eat. And the truth is there's plenty of healthy foods out there to eat. It's just, if you have this well laid out dietary plan and you make things simple for people and it tastes good and they don't feel like they're dieting, they can have success with it. So they get that. We do a meal replacement protein shake every morning because I can help them get a lot of nutrient dense foods into the shake. They can take their supplements from start to finish. It's 5 minutes. It's done. It tastes great. So in the program, we do that with them. So meal planning, getting them off the bad foods, obviously the 5R approach I just talked about, the health coach being in there, doing weekly Q&A calls. I call it having health coach on a call. My brother steps in and just holds space for people that want to, he doesn't necessarily address the science and whatnot. I'm the physician. I handle that. He handles, hey, what's going on? What are your challenges? Let's talk through this. And it's about the person kind of coming up with their own game plan to address, what is challenging him. And then they feel like it's more of a win because he just holds the space for them to create what their plan is moving forward. And it's just so successful. And also having that private Facebook group where you can go in and say, these are my wins, these are my frustrations, and feel heard. People just want to feel heard. And that's what helps get the needle moving.
Do you think people beat themselves up if they cheat or fall off the diet? And what do you do to encourage that, to keep them going so they don't quit?
That is huge. And I don't ever lead with that a cheat meal is okay. And I really lay it out for people to grasp how often they're cheating in their life. Let's say somebody says, I eat clean Monday during the week, and then I reward myself on the weekends. I'm being kind of generous here in the timeline, but if you take the weekends, let's say Friday through Sunday, and you take one major holiday each month, right? We're moving it. We have Thanksgiving. We just had Halloween. You're going to have Christmas, then you're going to have New Year's, then you're going to have Valentine's Day. Then there's Mother's Day and Father's Day. You just have something every month, right? And then people are celebrating more than one holiday party. They're eating birthday cake for more than just their birthday. And that breaks down to being like 46% of the year. So I don't lead with cheat meals. I really try to move people away from it. I also understand life happens, that sometimes there's going to be a slip. You might go to a restaurant and get into one of those inflammatory ingredients you weren't expecting. I teach them to stand up, to say, hey, start asking questions. Realize you can manipulate a restaurant menu in your favor. Bring your digestive enzymes. They help protect you against that stuff. But, at the end of the day, I'm asking for accountability. I initially worked with one health coach, and when we were designing our program, she said, so where's the first cheat meal in this? And I was like, I don't really think, if that's the mindset you're going to lead with, I don't think we're going to be a fit. I don't think you're going to be a fit for my people. I'm not saying, if you cheat, if you slip, get right back on the horse. You're still going to have wins and you need to keep moving forward. But don't go into my program or work with me thinking that I'm going to reward you with cheat meals, because it's just not how we make lifestyle changes and get the weight off and get people the health that they're really striving for. And I believe in excellence, not perfection, right? But let's show up and really work this program.
Yeah, it's I can't think of a better way of addressing that. It's all about tough love and holding people accountable at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for Dr. Bright?
What's next for Dr. Bright? From a personal standpoint,
anything dear to your heart, any future health hacks, anything that you're really excited about? I know you have a new website coming up.
I do. So I used to be known on social media platforms as the Look Good Naked Doctor. And we really did some rebranding. We said, we looked at our avatars. Who are we helping? I get these millennial females, usually around age 30 plus. I make a transformation with them. I get their moms, and I call their moms like the sexy grandma, because they're the 50, 60-year-old women. There's usually some core, there's a baby involved, right? the moms now had a baby. They want to be healthier for their family. They want their husbands to be, or significant others to be healthier. The moms, the grandmas, the sexy grandma, she wants to know that she still got it. She wants to know that she can show up and be healthy and have the energy to be with the grandchildren. And that's typically who I work with. We moved away from Look Good Naked. It was kind of fun. It was funny. People liked it. But we wanted
now you got the grandmother naked. I just don't.
Right. The grandmother laughs. She's like, whatever. They like to be in the community, but they're like, I'm not trying to look good naked. The millennial moms, they still kind of, they want that, right? What 40 something doesn't want that. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong, but we wanted to move away from the vanity and just have people say like, hey, we hear your needs. What do you want more of us? We restructured our program. It used to just be the elimination diet, but we really found that we were missing out on the reintroduction and long-term, like ongoing, making people's gut healthier. I brought the health coach on that's really up-leveled the program. We're aiming for a January launch. If people want access to us, they can take, we call it the weight loss awareness quiz. You can find that weightlossawarenessquiz.com. You simply go through and it's a sliding scale. You assess, it's like 4 different levels of your life. Do you have support? Do you know what you need to be doing? This, that, and the other. People make discoveries. If they take that, they can get access to me as we move forward with our January launch of the program. So that's kind of what's next for us. It's pretty exciting. I'm excited to release the new program and just, keep changing lives for the better.
That's exciting. We're here with Dr. Debbie Bright. It was a pleasure having you. And I think millennials everywhere are going to be helping change their lives as they start aging. So
absolutely. Millennials are, the baby boomers had a lot of kids, right? The millennials make up a huge part of our population. They're also the wellness focused age group. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's about just making sure they get the right message. They keep it dialed in. Mm-hmm. They're transforming the health of themselves. So their children, next generation.
The
Zoomers, right? And they're making sure their parents, the grandparents, are staying healthier as well. So I feel like I've got a really great niche group, and it's excited to work with this age group, these individuals, to transform health as the future moves on.
Awesome. It's amazing what you're doing. Thank you so much for your time, doctor.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
Take care.